Close your eyes and let yourself drift back. Not hundreds, not thousands, not even millions of years, but a staggering 250 million years into the past. Long before the dinosaurs, long before humans, even before the Earth looked anything like the world we know, the continents are not separate yet. Instead, they are fused together in a vast, endless landmass called Pangaea, a continent so immense that you could walk from one end to the other and never see the sea for months. The land is dry, cracked, and unforgiving in the center, but along the coasts, strange forests of towering conifers and ferns thrive. Giant dragonflies buzz through the humid air, their wings glittering in the sunlight. Reptiles, amphibians, and bizarre early creatures roam the swamps and woodlands. The oceans, stretching around this single supercontinent, are teeming with life. Trilobites, corals, giant sharks, and entire reefs that dwarf anything we have today. On the surface, it seems like life is flourishing. The world is alive with sound and movement. But deep beneath the crust of the earth, something is stirring. A force so powerful, so destructive, that it will push life itself to the brink of extinction. It begins in a place we now call Siberia. At first, there is only heat beneath the ground. Pressure builds. Magma surges upward, seeking release. Then, the planet rips open. A massive volcanic province erupts, not in a single explosion, but in a relentless, unstoppable torrent. For thousands of years, fountains of lava gush across the land, swallowing forests, boiling rivers, covering millions of square miles in fire. Imagine a flood, not of water, but of molten rock. It is called the Siberian Traps eruption, and it will become the greatest volcanic event in Earth's history. The sky fills with ash, but it's not just the lava. The real killer is invisible. These eruptions pump out unimaginable amounts of carbon dioxide and methane. Greenhouse gases surge into the atmosphere, trapping heat like a planet-sized oven door closing shut. The Earth begins to suffocate. At first, the warming is gradual. The oceans rise in temperature, just a little. But soon, the seas begin to change. Coral reefs, so bright and teeming with life, start to bleach and die. Oxygen levels in the water plummet. Fish, once abundant, gasp and vanish. Strange bacteria flourish in the heat, releasing toxic gases. Hydrogen sulfide bubbles up, spreading through the seas, and even leaking into the air. Imagine standing by the shore and watching the ocean turn murky green, then black, then bubbling as if it were boiling from within. Entire coastlines stink of sulfur, choking out everything that breathes. The seas themselves, the cradle of life, are becoming poison. But this is only the beginning. The warming continues. Seasons become unpredictable. Rain falls in torrents where it once never came, and deserts expand where forests once thrived. The very air becomes thinner, carrying less oxygen than before. For the creatures that breathe it, every step, every movement feels heavier. Imagine gasping, lungs burning, not because of disease, but because the very atmosphere itself has changed against you. On land, animals suffer first. Massive herds of reptiles collapse. Amphibians, who need clean waters to breed, vanish as rivers grow toxic. Forests that once shaded the land ignite into firestorms, fueled by the heat of a planet spiraling out of balance. Whole landscapes are reduced to ash, but the oceans suffer most. They heat like a pot on the stove. Once, they teemed with trilobites, corals, ammonites, and fish of every size. Now, the warmth drives oxygen out of the water. Zones of lifelessness expand, mile after mile, until entire seas are barren. Hydrogen sulfide, a gas so deadly it kills with a single breath, bubbles upward from the depths. As it leaks into the atmosphere, the sky itself takes on a strange tint, the smell of rotten eggs burning in the air. And then comes the tipping point. The Earth's delicate balance collapses. Temperatures soar. Carbon dioxide levels are nearly 10 times higher than anything humanity has ever experienced. Methane, unleashed from melting seafloor deposits, accelerates the chaos. It is a runaway greenhouse, a spiral of fire and suffocation. Day by day, species vanish. Creatures that once ruled their world vanish without leaving descendants. Coral reefs, which had thrived for hundreds of millions of years, collapse entirely. Entire groups of life disappear forever. Not just species, but whole families, whole ways of existing. And then comes silence. Nearly 90% of marine species are gone. On land, almost 70% of vertebrate species vanish. The Permian extinction doesn't just prune the tree of life, it nearly burns the tree to the ground. For a brief moment in Earth's history, it looks as though life itself may not survive. If you were standing there, at the end of this catastrophe, the world would look unrecognizable. The seas would be dark, bubbling with strange bacteria. The forests would be reduced to charred wastelands. The skies would hang low with haze. And the sounds of animals, once the heartbeat of the earth, would be gone. But even in the deepest darkness, something stirs. Life does not vanish completely. A few survivors endure, clinging to the edges of this broken planet. Tiny reptiles scurry into cracks. Hardy plants push through the ash. In the oceans, a few small fish mollusks and organisms adapt to the new poisoned seas. The earth is scarred, but not dead. And from these fragile remnants, the future of life will rebuild. Slowly, painfully, the earth begins to heal. It takes not years, not centuries, but millions of years for balance to return. The atmosphere gradually clears. The oceans cool and regain oxygen. From the few survivors, evolution starts again. Tiny reptiles that clung to survival begin to diversify. Plants spread across the land once more, and with them come the insects, the small animals, the fragile beginnings of new ecosystems. From this fragile rebirth, new giants will eventually emerge, the ancestors of the dinosaurs. The Permian extinction, in its destruction, clears the stage for the next great age of life. But the scars remain. The planet itself holds the memory of its near-death. Rocks across the world show the same blackened layers, the same sudden stop in fossil life. It is as if the Earth itself recorded the moment when almost everything vanished. And yet, here we are, humanity, distant descendants of the survivors, walking a world that almost ended before it truly began. Every forest, every bird, every ocean wave is a reminder that life fought its way back from the edge of nothingness. But there's one last thought to hold on to. As you drift toward sleep, the forces that ended the Permian world, rising carbon dioxide, warming seas, poisoned air, are not locked in the past. They are part of the same Earth we live on today. The difference is that, unlike the creatures of 250 million years ago, we know what is happening. The Permian extinction is a warning, written in fire and ash, that life is strong, but it is also fragile. The world can change, suddenly and violently, in ways beyond imagination. And when it does, survival depends on adaptation, resilience, and perhaps a little luck. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine that ancient silence. Imagine standing on a world where almost nothing remained, where oceans boiled and skies burned, and ask yourself, if life could come back from that, what else might it endure? And as the darkness of sleep takes you, remember, the night may fall, the earth may tremble, but life, fragile, stubborn, beautiful life, always finds a way.